Welcome to Disabled Expectations. When you're a dad raising a child with a disability, nothing is as you planned. These are the raw, honest stories of dads whose lives changed the day they heard a diagnosis and who continue to show up, adapt, and fight for their families every day. This isn't about lowering expectations, it's about redefining them. I'm Andy, and this is Disabled Expectations. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I promise you're going to love this. I have my man, Cameron Kinney, with me, and I am so excited you get to hear his story. Cameron, thank you. Thank you for being on
Absolutely.
the podcast.
I've been waiting for this day. We've been talking about it for a while, so I'm excited to be here.
We have. Cameron and I met at a Certain Hope community event and kind of just hit it off from there. We've always been close geographically, but we didn't know it. And so I feel like Cameron is a good friend, someone I look up to and really appreciate the time I get with you. So I'm excited about this. I know you're going to drop some bombs on us, and I can't wait.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. It's funny, Andy. I was just thinking of like how you and I met, and it was a Certain Hope event. But my first memory
Oh
was
boy.
when Wells was in the hospital, and you brought coffee and Starbucks, and we just sat in the waiting room at the hospital. I was like, I've met this guy, but here he is with coffee and Starbucks. I feel like we should probably hang out or talk or something. So
Yeah, we didn't
yeah.
really know each other at that point.
I was like, this guy seems cool. Maybe we should hang out. And then lo and behold, you showed up at the hospital.
I like it. I like it. Man, it's yeah, the hospital has a way. The hospital, we'll get into the hospital,
We'll
but
get there.
it's a it's a space. It's definitely a space.
hmm hmm
All right, so let's just get into kind of the things we have to talk about in the beginning. I've read all the books on podcasts. They all say you have to do this. By the way, I've read 0 books, and it's going to be evident. But what do we got? I want to hear, kind of just jump right in. Tell me a little bit about your family, you and your wife. Maybe just a like one little tidbit that is an interesting fact about you, and then I'll ask a lot of questions.
Sure. Yeah. So I have a wonderful wife named Nicole. We've been married almost 14 years now, coming up this upcoming November. We have 3 amazing kids. We have almost 4-year-old twins, Cora and Wells, and we have a 9-month-old daughter, Gracie girl. Um,
Love it.
I'm born and raised in Ada. And it's hilarious because it was like one of the things I thought I would never do growing up was live close to my parents, and yet they're only like 2 miles down the road from me at this point in time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like a little bit of our backstory. Nicole and I met Calvin College. We didn't really hang out much throughout college. We knew of each other, and then dated for not a super long time. Got married and lived in Michigan, lived in Arizona, lived in Colorado for a couple years, and then made our
Wow.
way back. Yeah, we kind of did a little tour for a while there, and then made our way back to Michigan right before the twins were born. So that was almost 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when. How long ago did you move from Fenton?
Yeah, so we moved from Fenton about a year and a half, roughly, almost 2 years. So
Really?
we lived,
Okay.
yeah, we lived on the east side of the state for about 2 years, and then have been over here roughly 2 years. Yeah, I mean 2.5 over in Fenton actually.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that's funny because Fenton, we were literally 15 minutes away from each
hmm
other and
Yeah.
I didn't know you existed on this planet, but here we
Yeah.
are. And I am a
It takes a lot of
better
people to know
person.
about Fenton existence. So.
I love it. So, all right, tell me a little bit about you've got twins,
hmm
and they're awesome, by the way. All your kids are amazing. I love them. They just make you happy, and they're perfect. They never have any issues or problems.
Never. Mm-mm. No.
But tell me a little bit about Wells.
Yeah. So Wells, our sweet boy. Um, Wells, so a little bit of the journey was we found out we went through a long journey of getting to having kids, and then we found out
Okay.
we were expecting twins. And with twins, like you see the doctor a ton anyway. And so we got to that 20-week anatomy scan, and at that 20-week anatomy scan, they kind of said, "Hey, we need to pull you aside. We need to have a conversation. Your husband can come back," because it was during COVID. So
Uh,
only Nicole was able to like go into the appointments. I could be there, but not in them. And so they're like, "Hey, we want your husband to come back." And so I was like, "Okay."
Great sign.
And I know, always like thrilled for that. And so anyway, they shared with us that there were a couple anomalies in the way Wells's brain was developing. At that point in time, the only thing that they really made mention for us was an absent corpus callosum. They're like, we'll keep an eye on a few other things. They're like, his left kidney seems to be developing differently as well,
Hmm.
so we're going to keep a close eye on it. And they, at that point in time, an absent corpus callosum can mean nothing. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people have, and they don't even know. So obviously, still very scary because the doctors have to ask all those really hard questions that you don't want to answer.
Right.
Um, and so for us, it was a really long road, like I mentioned, to get to kids. So it was terrifying to think of like something was going wrong. And we actually found out that Cora had a 2 vessel versus 3 vessel umbilical cord, which is also like kind of a risk thing with kids.
Okay.
Yep. So then we proceeded to have, almost every other week kind of appointments. And as our babies continued to grow, Cora and Wells continued to grow, they, like, based off what we saw on the anatomy scan, we're gonna do an MRI. So they did an MRI, and honestly, like these memories are, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say faded so much, but because like everything was kind of happening so fast, we found out we were pregnant. We moved to Michigan. We just got introduced, like we never knew anybody in Ann Arbor. We're going to U of
Jeez.
M and everything, and they're kind of sharing information about Wells, and they did an in utero MRI, and like, oh, he's absent corpus callosum is confirmed. We think his cerebellum might be developing a little bit slower or smaller. So the phrase Dandy Walker was tossed around, and we didn't get a ton of other details. They didn't want to give
Okay.
any specific classifications at that point in time. And so we went through this kind of, again, with just excitement, but also fear. Just twins are high risk anyway. So all that comes along, and then delivery day, kiddos come out, and we ended up, Cora was in the NICU for a day. Wells was there for 27, 28 days.
All
And
right.
within the midst of that, he had, again, MRI, and we found out he had um, Dandy Walker confirmed, absent corpus callosum. I can't, honestly, I don't think I remember anybody specifically saying it, but he ends up having polymicrogyria as well.
And
And
what does
there's
that
one other,
mean?
yeah. So your brain's got the waves, polymicro, many small waves versus the normal wave pattern or smooth.
Okay.
So, yep. So he's got that bilaterally multiple spots in his brain.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What can you tell us a little bit more? I've never heard of Dandy Walker.
Hmm.
Can you tell me what you know about that?
Yeah. So your cerebellum is typically your like motor control, balance, etc. So with Wells's conditions, he's got really, really low muscle tone. Typically, that's because of the Dandy Walker. So his cerebellum is smaller, and so again, I don't know if there's any specific correlations or anything there, but um, like he's got low muscle tone, uh, except for his smile. That one works great, and so he's overall like he's a wheelchair user. He's does all the PTs and everything. So Danny Walker's typically trouble walking, trouble balancing, trouble with muscle control is often
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Had
So
had you heard of it before this point?
no, no,
Okay. Wow.
no. Just did a lot of research and talked to my dad, who's a retired NICU doc. So
Right.
yeah.
So you've got, man, I guess I mean, I know a lot of your story, kind of, but I also don't know a lot of it. But so you had quite the journey to have kids. So you have all
Hmm.
this excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You're having twins, and then at some stage in the game, you realize, okay, there's some things going on
Mm-hmm.
with Wells. Well, what was? Do you remember what that was like? The highs and the lows for you and Nicole, or is that
Yeah.
kind of? I know that's kind of a traumatic thing, and sometimes it just gets suppressed and pushed down, and it's hard to recall it. But do you remember that at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was really tough, and for lots of reasons. I mean, not only with like a complicated pregnancy and learning that your child might have a disability,
Yeah.
but again, moving. I've been really plugged into a community. Had like a once a week Bible study group of guys I was going to. Nicole had great coworkers and a group of women she connected with relatively frequently, and we like made the decision relative. So a backstory. Uh, we've been trying for kids for 5 years. We'd had a couple miscarriages. We had loss along the way,
Okay.
and we had been praying this whole time of like we want kids, but also just trusting that the Lord would make it His timing. Um, and so a part of our journeys we ended up doing IVF, and we had multiple failed rounds of that as well. And
Oh.
I really remember distinctly praying because that IVF has gotten pretty good these days, where they only allow you to transfer one embryo, and they're like, you've had multiple failed transfers, you can transfer two. And we were trying to determine, would we stay in Colorado or would we move if we had kids? I was dead set on Colorado, and Nicole's like, I miss family. I think it'd be great to move back. Well, the prayer was like, God, your timing is perfect. We know that you've got good plans, but we're just asking you make it clear and not to make a decision for you. But like, if it's twins, that's the clear sign that we should move back with family. And so a couple days later, they give you all the calls, and they're like, the Abbott levels are wild. We kind of think it might be two, and then lo and behold, it was twins.
So was that you just praying that, or did you tell Nicole that?
Oh, we were both praying.
Okay.
Yeah. We were.
That's wild.
Yeah. So she was like, "All right, we gotta start looking for a house." I was like, "Oh boy, here we go." So yeah, within 2 to 3 months of learning that Nicole was pregnant, we bought a house unseen in Fenton, Michigan, and moved back because Nicole's family is over in the neck of the woods, and sold
Yeah.
our house pretty fast.
Wow. All right. So, man, that is, I mean, it's wild, but it's also it's got to be very cool when you're like, hey, God, if it's twins, like this will be like, like you feel like God heard your prayer
Hmm.
and is answering it in a way that's like, we're confident. This is what we're gonna do.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
that's gotta be awesome. I like that.
It is awesome, and it makes being obedient a lot easier. When you're like, yeah, it's hard to, can't deny that one. You should probably listen. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. I did kind of bring this up. So
yeah. I mean, you literally asked for it.
oh
So,
gosh.
yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah, so back to the emotional part. So like we then kind of like pulled ourselves from this connection of community, living in a neighborhood we don't know much about. And Nicole's family is fantastic, but that's the only people we know. And
Right.
it's also the middle of COVID, so it's not like you can just show up at a social party and be like shaking
Yeah.
hands. Um, so it was honestly a very quite lonely season.
Wow.
There was this excitement of like new home, nesting, preparing. Then there was this fear of like, I think you have that fear of like, are we nesting for nothing?
Mm,
We had struggled a lot with hope as a best friend and an enemy, as a best friend and an enemy at the same time.
okay.
So like we always have hope, and certain hope is like a phenomenal thing because we do have a certain hope in Christ, but then there's that hope of like, will we have a family or will we have
Right.
kids or what will that look like?
Yeah.
And we had it for many years where like we got hopeful and we
Mhm.
had all these like things to try to have a family, and then it made loss that much harder.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah.
and so this, Nicole expecting and getting further and further along in pregnancy, it made the real reality of losing hard. Um,
Right. Because you said
so
you've had miscarriages.
yeah,
That's
um,
got to be on your mind too.
yeah, yeah. Um, that was always a scary part of it, of the you know, I can't feel kicks or I couldn't feel heartbeats, and you're just waiting for the next appointment to confirm everything's okay. Um, yeah.
Oh man.
So, yeah, it was a lonely, exciting, scary, everything kind of a season. Um, just because, there complications and not just like, we got to keep an eye on it. Like, there's no such thing as like a non-stressful thing in pregnancy. Like preeclampsia is
Right.
terrifying. All that stuff is terrifying. And then the situation it felt even more terrifying just because it was like Nicole wasn't experiencing something, our son was experiencing something.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So the pregnancy itself, did that go as planned? Was that all?
Uh, what's as planned is
I
the real
don't
question.
know. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Right, right.
I just
And
I
so I
just
mean,
asked the questions.
all things considered, yes. And both kids continued to grow. They both
Okay.
were large, for twins. Nicole carried them 37 and a little bit weeks. Like that's
Okay.
well for a term for twins. And when they were
Yeah.
born, they were both 5 and 6 pounds roughly. So,
And then was that a natural delivery?
yep.
Awesome.
Well, they had to induce her.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So they were basically like, you can't cook them any longer. They got to get out.
It's go time.
Yep. Yep. So,
So,
yeah, but go ahead.
no, so I was just wondering. So you've got Cora. She was like 2 days in the NICU. Wells was like, I know we're twins, so we're gonna compete. I'm gonna do things a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit different. How did you talk to me about like the management of twins in different locations and
Yeah.
all that with COVID, with a new house, with
Mhm.
minimal support?
Yeah. So Cora was able to go home after 2 days, and COVID, there was no visitor policy, so it was moms and dads, and that was it. But we found a loophole because
Oh,
Nicole's very, very good at asking great questions. Because Cora had spent a night in the NICU, she qualified to be able to come back and stay in the hospital with Wells. So we actually lived for almost the entirety of that month in Wells's NICU room. So
wow.
like Cora in a pack and play, I was on a fold out chair, Nicole was on a fold out couch. We
Are
basically lived with her.
you serious?
Yeah. Yep. So
I'm just trying to process like
uh,
what that looks like.
yeah,
Oh
we
my
have
god.
photos. It
We
was
have
tight.
photos.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like with Wells in the NICU? What were the concerns? What were the things that they were kind of watching and wondering and discovering?
Yeah. So the first thing they noticed when they came out is he wasn't oxygenating as well right off the bat. And again, initially like not as active as Cora. Cora's little wiggling all over, moving her hands around. And he was a little bit more slower motions,
Okay.
but no like giant red flags. Just like, okay, we need to monitor him. The biggest thing for him, the reason they kept him in the NICU for as long as they did is his suck, swallow, breathe reflex. He wasn't able to nurse.
Mm.
He wasn't taking any feed, so he had an NG tube for a while, and then we slowly figured it out over the course of that month to get him to thickened feeds. And that was like, when they're babies, it's like 1 ounce, whew, got it, sweet, we did it. So it's like for him, it might take 45 minutes to an hour to
Yeah.
get 1 ounce, and then you do that, like feed him 1 hour, takes an hour, rest for 45 minutes, and then do it again.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Not exhausting at all.
I mean, no. Um, my dog is sleep barking beneath me here.
Sleep marking.
Um, and then the other thing that gave us a little bit of scare is they did want to do an EEG just because they knew he had developmental differences in his brain,
Hmm.
and so sorry, not an EEG, sleep study,
Oh,
just to
okay.
kind of yeah. Uh, and I still have like a really weird feeling. That was the first time we experienced that, like, are we losing him feeling? Is because during the sleep
Really?
study, hmm it was on day 18 or 19 of being in the NICU, and they, you know, basically do the big helmet with the leads, wrap them all up,
Yep.
And as he was doing that, all of a sudden, like, you start hearing that pulse ox beep. Pulse ox beep. He's beneath 90. Okay, he's at 85. He's at 80.
Whoa.
All right, let's tune the O's up. Okay, he's still at 70. Okay, guys, what's going on? All right, mom and dad, you need to go in the hall. Like,
Whoa.
like, yeah. And so he
Jeez.
dropped down to like the 60s or something, and they didn't bag him or anything like that, but they cranked the O's and they were trying to get him oxygenated, and he's just like fussing, and something's going wrong, and
Oh man.
so like we're in the hallway freaking out,
Yeah.
and it probably took all
100%.
maybe 10 minutes, but then he kind of elevated back up, and then they put him on O's, and they kept him on O's, and so he finally figured out how to eat, and we came home after 27 days, and he was on oxygen for the first 4 months at home.
Continual oxygen.
Hmm.
They give you a concentrator for that, or you got?
Oh yeah, we had that bad boy hooked up and running all the time.
Hear it purring.
Oh yeah. Yep. First time the power went out, Nicole and I freaked. Because
Oh yeah.
Because I think we only had like 2 canisters or 3 canisters around the house, and I was like,
Yeah,
"How
that's
long
an
are we
emergency
out?"
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was he at then? What'd you have to put the oxygen at for the first, being home?
Half liter, nothing
Okay.
wild. Yep. Pulse ox on him at all times, half liter all times. And we had the most janky setup. Like we had like connector tees, and we had like 7 tubes hooked up. So because we're like, well, we want to go upstairs, but I don't want to bring this compressor up there. And so like you just have this like 10-mile long
Yes.
hose line.
How far can we go?
Yeah, exactly. It's like back the corded phones from back in the day. So
Right. Only a few people know that, but that
yeah,
was you could stretch those things forever.
yeah, to the neighbor's house.
It's amazing. All right.
Mhm.
That's another podcast.
Mhm.
So then how old is Wells now?
Almost 4. Birthday's
Okay.
in May.
So what have been hospital visits like since have you had I'm laughing because I know, but I mean what are some of the hospital visits and stays you've had, after the first I don't know, first year or so?
Yeah. So within the first year, about 6 months old, he had his first seizure. So we were at home, and Nicole just came knocking my office door and was like, something's going on. So we took him in, and
Yeah.
he was having his first round of seizures. So they started him on his first seizure med then. Um, and we had a long back and forth, 1 or 2 hospital stays. He also had really bad reflux, so he was in the hospital for that multiple times. So
Yeah.
we probably spent that first year probably like 60 days in total on
Okay.
between the 27 that he was in there to start, then like 5-day trips, 6-day trips here and there to do different things. And then he got his first like real bad inpatient hospitalization. He got a really bad rhinoentero. So he was on BiPAP for a while just to get cleared out, and
Gotcha.
that was when he was about 1 and a little bit. And then the biggest one, the one that you and I met at,
Yeah.
was about a year and a half ago, December 15. He had gone through a handful of sicknesses, was in and out of the hospital, and then he got RSV right in early December.
Yeah.
And we just woke up one morning, and it's like he's looking a little rough. We should probably take him in. So we got him in, and I remember sitting in his room. They had him on high flow, and they had him on 2 liters of high flow. And I just got this sense of like he's gonna burn out. Like
Mm,
we need to do something. Like this isn't cutting it. So
right.
I flagged the nurse, and I was like, I know my son. He's running out of gas. Like we need to get him to the PICU because we were just on the general floor.
Okay.
And so doctors came in, checked him out. They're like, yeah, it
Man.
seems like he's working pretty hard. So they got him transferred upstairs within about 2 hours. And as soon as they got him on the floor, they're like, this isn't working. They tried to mask him. They tried to get him on CPAP, BiPAP, anything. They couldn't get a mask to fit.
Mm,
So one of my biggest fears at that point in time was they're going to intubate, and they're like literally like right in there. I'm by myself. Nicole's at home. She's like, "We're going to
okay.
intubate." So they intubated him, and they're like, "Yeah." They had done the test the night before, and they came back positive for RSV. So he got intubated, and then over the course of the next month, he progressively got worse.
Ugh,
Um, they told us later on he was the sickest kid in the PICU. I'm laughing to protect myself from crying.
right.
Yeah. Um,
That's not, yeah, that's not the award you want.
no, it's not. And they don't tell you that when you're in there, right? You know,
Which
their
is
job is
smart.
to keep you positive and
Yeah.
everything else. But yeah, he progressed. He maxed out every vent they had. He was an on oscillating ventilator. He was the next kid up for ECMO. Um, and normally kids don't go on ECMO if it's
I
respiratory.
I don't know what that means.
Um, ECMO is basically a machine heart and lungs. They take your blood out, they put oxygen in it, and they put the blood back in, and they
Oh,
pump it
okay.
for you. Normally, that's
Wow.
reserved, not reserved, but typically used for kids with a heart issue who need a heart surgery or something like
Right.
that. If
Wow.
you go on ECMO for respiratory, it's because your lungs don't work. So,
Man.
uh, his lungs were basically swollen to the point where they were not transferring oxygen to his body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our our doctors have said the most dangerous thing for Briella
Mm.
is to get RSV or,
Yep.
pneumonia, which she currently has. But,
Yeah.
it's those things you hear just like so frightening. And then
Mhm.
you're there by yourself. And so how long was this stay?
Uh,
December 15th, you said, or 13th?
yeah. Well, we were discharged in March, so we are there 3 and a little bit months. Yep.
Dude,
Yeah, we are there for a while.
dude, that's a lot, man. I remember like for some reason I just remember Christmas morning just like thinking about you guys and praying for
Mhm.
you and being like, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is
No,
not this is not okay. Man,
no,
what
it's
what
not.
was your mental stage like going through like a major holiday? Knowing that like there was, I mean, you said March and you're still December, so you're still in the thick of it. You're probably not thinking like, oh, it's going to be a couple
Mm.
days and we're out.
And yeah, that was the scariest part is that like he had a Christmas tree, not the traditional form. It was the one where he had like 20 different pumps running with all the meds and everything. They literally call it a Christmas tree. Um,
Wow.
and so for that first month, it was like, event has settings and it's typically like, oh, here's your typical range. And he was like pushing the maximum settings in the event. They're like, if we put any more pressure in, it's dramatically unhealthy for him. Like it's more dangerous to keep putting pressure. And
Jeez.
so they they're like, we've rarely, if ever, used it, but an oscillating ventilator is basically like a giant airplane engine that pumps your lungs at an incredibly fast rate to help maintain oxygen levels. So they're like, we're gonna try that. And so they tried it and it kept him stable enough that he could stop getting sicker and start getting better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What, man, I'm trying to comprehend the weight of being in the hospital like that. And because was this when he also got a trach
So you got to trach after all of this.
after
Um,
all this?
yeah. But you had asked like, what was our mental state? I think
Yeah.
that's probably a really important thing to talk about because of parents who find themselves in that position, like you're not prepared for it.
No.
Um, the one thing I think that Nicole and I would never, you go through hard things in life and it can prepare you in surprising ways. So having gone through infertility journey for 5 years, loss journey for 5 years, trying to get to kids, this was nothing like we'd ever expected or prepared for.
Mhm.
but like we both can still look at each other and go like, had we not gone through some of those hard things earlier on, the experiences that we were having then probably would have been that much harder
Yeah.
because uh, long suffering or the game of waiting, the game of being patient and trusting is a hard
The
game. No
worst.
matter it's the worst, but it's also like I'm grateful for it now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, so like during that season, I like Nicole and I always felt like we were a team in the middle of it.
Oh, that's
Um,
so great.
yeah, and we look back and we're like, how? That was just like exhausted. Nicole's pregnant with Gracie at this point in time, so she's like in the nauseous phase, and Wells is in the
Jeez.
hospital, and we've also
Yeah.
got another, you know, 3-year-old or 2.5, not even 3-year-old, 2.5-year-old at that point in time running around.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I
Mm.
mean, we spent a lot of time praying, a lot of time trusting, reciting a lot of the verses that have kind of become life verses for us.
Yeah.
So,
That's
um,
cool.
yeah.
What what did you do practically? Um I mean, you just said a couple of things, but was there anything like were you able to get out and like walk? Were you able to go outside and get some fresh air? Because I know you. I remember when I came and saw you. You were not comfortable being in the waiting room long. Like it
Mm-mm.
wasn't like a oh, this is great. We're just gonna sit. It was like, yeah, I got to go back, right? Like you were in. It was tense, and so
But, yeah,
what
yeah.
what was your secret? And I'm not trying to downplay what you've said because those are powerful things. Like,
Mm,
we believe the Bible is living and active, and so
mm,
I mean those Bible verses that you remember and quote to yourself and repeat. I mean that's huge. I mean that's speaking life into you and your wife. But were you able to get fresh air? I mean, what what the
yeah,
hospital air sucks so bad.
it does. It's not the same kind of air, right?
No.
Um, I the way it would work is when like probably the first half of his hospitalization, I think I went home to shower and I'd come back. Um, and
Yeah.
Nicole was there as much as she could, but I told her like, you're pregnant, you need to take care of yourself, you need sleep, and you're
Right.
not going to get it here. So,
What?
yeah, I know, right? So I would try to send her home as much as she was able or willing to. But I spent probably 90% of the nights he was in the hospital. I was also in the hospital. I was there. I worked from the hospital. Uh, I was
Man.
there most of the time. So I would get out occasionally. I'd come home. I'd go for a run, lift, try to
Yeah.
grab a beer with a buddy, and that was about it.
It's like
So
throw cinder blocks or something like
no, honestly, like, 'cause I was so exhausted, I was like, I'm just happy to move. You
right.
know, yeah. My watch would tell me like, gotta stand up all the time. So yeah.
Did you ever say did you ever say to yourself or like when people ask you like how are you doing? What was your response to them? I'm just curious. That just popped in my head.
Yeah. I tend to not, and like if you're a real like someone who's actually like attempting to invest or like know who I am as a person, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it often.
Yeah.
I'd be like, honestly, it's really tough. Uh, I mean, as a husband, you want to be supportive of your
Right.
wife. Like you want to be there when she's feeling and experiencing things. And all, my family's around it. They're experiencing feeling things too. And I would be honest when people would ask, I'm like, I'm having a really hard time. Uh,
Wow.
I
Have you
might lose
always
my
been like
son.
that?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I was gonna say
Uh,
honest, but I'm thinking like open, not honest.
no, the open thing is, I really do genuinely thank Nicole for helping me work on that. I
Okay.
think for a long time I was very much like everything's all good, no worries, don't worry
Yeah.
about me, I'm all good.
Yeah, I can
I
totally
mean,
relate to that.
I think it's a relatively standard practice for most, men/dads to just go, doing good.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm more than happy to say I'm not doing good. I'm getting by. I'm doing what I know will help me get through the season, but it doesn't mean I'm doing
Right.
good. So,
I always assume when guys say like, "Oh, I'm doing we're good," and it's like, I'm just looking at your situation, and no, like you can't, like you're a liar. Don't lie to me. I feels
mhm,
like that's kind of the standard is like dads are like, I'm fine. It's like it's okay if you're not. Like just
mhm,
calm down. Like
no,
everyone's got their stuff and it's okay to talk about it once in a while. It will
yeah,
help you.
like Nicole and I say to each other all the time, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Like it's actually probably a lot better to say I'm thinking or I'm processing or I had a hard time with or this has got me like we had to spend a lot of time doing that before we had kids, but it's been
Right.
so critical for us to be able to continue to do that, especially in that season of like also admitting like I'm not feeling anything, and that's also scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's I've never heard that and I'm like, "Whoa, that's real." Like
Yeah,
it's hitting me. Man,
yeah.
did you guys
I
do counseling at all?
we did counseling before kids. We have
Okay,
not yet
gotcha.
after kids.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
I would think we should. And again, we've both talked about that of like we've gone through a lot of loss. We have
Yep.
a lot of, I'm sure we'll talk about it in a few minutes, but like uh, pre-grieving for
Yeah.
things, like grieving even if the thing that you're grieving hasn't happened yet.
Right. So yeah, let's just walk right into that. What do you do to talk about this grieving topic? I mean,
Mm,
it's so deep, it's so wide, and it
mhm,
has the power to really like crush you.
mhm,
How do you do that with Nicole? How do you start those conversations? I mean, is there like, I mean, besides being you, which is super authentic and awesome, is there something
mm,
you do or that works? Because I know there's other. I'm asking that because I know there's other dads that maybe they're afraid to talk about it,
mm.
and or maybe they just don't know how.
Yeah. Um, I'll give a little bit of the precursor to this is like one of the things that I spent a lot when Nicole and I worked on, but I worked on a lot early on in our marriage was just like a part of being strong is being vulnerable.
Mm,
A part
I
of
like that.
a part of being a good leader is being honest and being transparent with your emotions because like you can still be brave but afraid.
Yeah,
David talks
yeah,
about that a lot, you know. There's a lot of look at a lot of biblical characters. Joshua he trusted in the Lord and he was brave, but I'm sure he was shaking in the sandals. When he's like, "Yeah, I'll just wander around the
Sandals.
city and things will be good." Sweet, all right, cool, no problems.
Right.
Trust it completely.
Yeah, we'll just do one
Um,
more lap.
yeah, one more. He said do it. Um, so I mean, that's one of the things that like, and it's hard. Like vulnerability is really, really hard. But it's just like anything else in this world that's hard. It's like the more practice you put into it,
Yeah.
the easier it becomes. And so like I think we learned the practice early on in marriage of like how do you just like say what you're thinking or feeling.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that we try to do now is there's so many other things that vie for your attention: social media, Instagram, TV, shows, kids, everything else.
Right.
Um, we try to just like set aside time to like literally stop and just literally look at each other for a moment and just start asking questions of like,
Man.
what'd you feel today? What did you spend your time thinking about?
Right.
What was the thing that was most exciting? What was the thing that was most scary? Like,
Man.
or the other thing that Nicole's really good at it, she's got like not even a sixth, it's like a seventh sense. But she'd be like, she's like, I can just tell something's off. And I'm like, I didn't even know something was off yet.
Oh boy.
And you're telling me something. Okay, I should probably figure that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that, I've slowly but surely learned to like pick up on the signals too. And she'll be the first one to tell you I'm not perfect at it because there's been many
Right.
times where she's like, I just don't think you see what I'm feeling right now. I'm like, touche, I probably don't. Let's talk. Um,
Wow.
so yeah.
Because you had mentioned, I wrote it down. You said that was the first time we felt like we were going to lose him,
Hmm.
and so immediately, like that's a trigger. I mean, that's a I don't even know the words how to describe it. But have you had that feeling with him before? And then how do you
Hmm.
and Nicole talk about that?
Yeah. I think whenever you learn your child has significant disabilities, like there's always that like lingering in the background thought of like something could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But up until his big hospitalization, it was kind of like things were progressing. He was getting stronger. He was doing, was doing well in PT, OT. He's in feeding therapy. Like things were going really well.
Yeah.
And then this hospitalization happened, and he coded multiple times. Like that's like the true I think we might lose in moments. Um,
Wow.
and so like uh, we would think back to Abraham and Isaac.
Mm.
The thing that you love the most is mine, and I'm asking you to like give it up.
Man.
And so obviously a lot of emotion
Yeah.
comes up in that because it's like, yeah, you want a kid so bad, and this moment right, you might lose them.
Right.
And so that was something we still draw on today is like, uh,
Mm.
good friends of ours gave us advice a long time ago. Just remember, you're just adoptive parents. They're God's kids anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like you just got to do the best you can. And so just spending a lot of time of like grief, like grieving the potential to lose a kid, even though our kid's with us, because we got so close,
Right.
was hard, and it still sticks with us because he's an incredible kid and he's still doing well, and he's growing
Mhm.
and he's getting stronger. But a lot of the things that he deals with probably won't get better. Um,
And that's hard in and of itself.
yeah,
Just that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I still don't know how to process it all the time, but I can at least name it.
Yeah,
And I think that takes away its power to kind of control
for sure.
the rest of things. So
Yeah. I always feel like parents, disability parents are really good at talking about I don't know that they all are really good at it, but like you know,
mm,
um like those hard topics are so common, like
yeah.
Laura and I Laura and I have a journal where we have Briella's funeral,
Mm,
like all the details written down, and be like talking about that while she's living and
mm,
thriving right now
mm.
is just it's a interesting experience. And
Well, it fills it with guilt as a parent
yeah,
of like, do I not believe in my kid? Do not
right.
believe in like their abilities that they can get better and get healthier? But that's also not honoring to your
Yeah,
own experience and emotions either. So,
man. No, I Cameron and I are kind of doing this dad's group where we get together and we pray with each other. We read some Bible verses together, and Cameron's just so good at being open, being honest, and like drawing people into that. And I think that's a really incredible skill that you have. just from the few times we've met with these dads. Like there's been some things that have been shared that have just been like so encouraging to hear that, not the things that are shared, but that dads are opening up. And Cameron has that gift of just saying, it's okay. I'm here to listen. I'm not going to say everything perfect, but I'm glad he's just so incredible with that. I really appreciate that. And I can see that being such a gift to Nicole, how you guys interact. And when you get the time to look each other in the eyes and ask those questions, tell us a little bit about Wells today.
Mm.
What's he up to? What is he doing?
Yeah. So Wellesley's growing like crazy. I'm not the
Good.
tall one. I'm like 5'8", but I've got two brother-in-laws who are 6'9" and 6'10". So like,
Okay.
who knows how big that kid's gonna get?
Easy, guys.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, he goes to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Children's Healing Center, and
That's great.
school is a generic description. It's just a program for preschool aged kids.
Okay.
But if you don't know what Children's Healing Center, listeners, Children's Healing Center is a fantastic resource in Grand Rapids where uh it's a center for immunocompromised families. So
Yeah.
Wells falls smack in the middle of that description. So he goes to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have nursing most days come to our house except for the weekends. And so they're able to help us kind of manage his day-to-day care. But he's big fan of painting, drawing.
Oh,
We got
really?
this. Oh yeah, we got this little thing called I actually don't know what it's called, but it's like a little doodle bug. But it's like we put a Velcro strap on it so it can stay in his hand, and you can stick markers in it, and then
So
he
cool.
just goes full Picasso.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So that,
That's
and then
awesome.
he's got a little keyboard he plays on. He rocks that out pretty frequently.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but yeah, he uses his wheelchair. We've got quite a few miles on that bad boy. Um, and then I can't cross my fingers on, but we're really close to getting a Josie stroller so we can do some biking and stuff this summer. So that'll be a
Oh,
blast.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you
Yeah.
live, there's a lot of paved trails, right? Like it's
Mhm.
pretty decent. So
Yeah. We're
that'd be
excited for that
awesome.
this summer. We'll make it
Man.
up to Rockford.
Don't tease me.
We'll make it happen.
So tell me what do you love about being Wells's dad? Because
Mm.
it's easy sometimes to talk about the difficulty.
Yeah.
Like that's always kind of out there in the front and center. But what is it that you love about being Wells's dad? Because he's such a stud. I just want to hear your heart on
Yeah.
him.
So, man, I love spending time with him because he's like, despite all the things he's gone through, he's just a happy kid.
Oh, it's so
Like,
good.
he's just smiles. Like his favorite thing in the world. And I'm like, if you still like it, I'm gonna keep doing it. But we just call it squid. So it's
Okay.
just like I just kind of like do one of these things towards him, and he just gives me the biggest
Mm.
smile and gives me a cheese.
Oh
And
man.
the other thing that I've like, he like we're sometimes working with Wells requires a lot of patience, but he also has like more patience with me too, which is like such a beautiful thing. Because I mean, Cora's a phenomenal and amazing kid, but she's like right in the smack of that 3-year-old phase where like there's
Oh
lots
yeah.
of emotions that are new and learning how to assert her independence, which is fantastic. And for Wells, like again, there's lots of things that are you take time, and he's just always so patient and just like always just like looks at you and like studies you, and like he's nonverbal, but you know what he's saying when he
Right.
looks at you that way.
Yeah.
So like we're just sitting there, I'm chatting with him, talking about like what's going on. He's just like the best listener. He's like actually paying attention. Um,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
and yeah, like he does this special thing where like he has seizures almost daily. Um, and so like seizures are terrifying for us because we don't know what's going to happen. And so like
You
when he
said
has,
that so like it wasn't like he has seizures daily. You know, like
I think it's because that's just a norm for us,
yeah,
right? It's like my kid learned to tie their shoes. It's like, oh well, my kid has seizures daily.
right.
So but he like when he comes out of a seizure, like we're like kind of like nervous, is everything okay? And he'll turn to us and smile like it's okay, I'm all good.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's like, I'm good, we're good, we can keep
Oh
doing the
my
things.
gosh.
Um, so
Gosh.
yeah, and it's been really fun recently just because like he's been starting to express his own emotions more. So like he's always such a happy, but now he'll kind of like tell us like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, oh,
Uh,
good deal, buddy.
you're
I'm
like,
like, here,
let's
I
do
love it. Oh
this.
yeah, tell me no, kid, tell me no. So
That's
um,
so great. Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. So he's also a phenomenal snuggler. So like he's
Oh,
still the
okay.
size where I can just like hang out with the guy and hold him. It's
Yeah.
perfect. So
That never gets old.
never does.
I've got teenagers and it's starting to, be weird,
Mm,
but it's fine.
yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this will be the last question, I
Sure.
think, unless you say something wild. Tell me a little bit about your faith through this journey. You
Mm,
guys have been through a lot. Just I mean, that's like the most basic way to say it, but you've been
mm,
through a lot of ups and downs. Um, a lot of things that you probably have been upset about, a lot of joys, all of it.
mm,
Where has
mm,
your faith been through this? Because I'm assuming too, which I don't know totally. I mean, it's probably kept you from church
mm,
at
mhm.
some level. So talk to me a little bit about your faith.
Yeah. So like I grew up in the church and then kind of really kind of would say claimed faith for myself uh late college was kind of like went from like, yeah, I'm a Christian to like I'm claiming this and like I want to be really a part of it.
Okay. I like that. I've never heard that phrase, claim it. I like that.
Yeah. And so through all of this, I don't think I had never lost trust or hope that God is good, God is sovereign, God's going to take care of us. But man, did we have some conversations. Um, um, yeah, there was many times when Nicole and I were just like, how is another thing happening?
Right.
How how did we like why and how did this happen? Um, and I think the biggest struggle is like, God, I don't think I can handle this.
Ah,
Um, and part of it is like an absurd amount of like self-confidence of like I can get through things. I didn't feel that way through a
hmm.
lot of this. Like I can get through this. We're gonna get through this. Um, but the thing that like continued to just go to the source and just ask God, like, hey, I really need help.
Yeah. So
Like,
so you feel like you talk to God more through this or
yeah, it's funny. We talked about this the other week. Like, I used to be like a super avid journaler, and I'd like to get back into it. And I still have my journal, and take my notes
wow.
down, stuff like that. Um, but I feel like this last year and a half to 2 years has been a lot more like just conversational
Hmm.
prayer
Okay.
of like, God, I can't, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I know I need help. And why is
Yeah.
this happening? Like, why are you letting this happen? Like, I'm just angry. I'm angry at
Hmm.
all of it. I don't know if rightfully so, but I feel angry at you right now. Help me understand this. Like, give me a reason not to be like, and
Right.
I feel like God asks us to just speak to him again, like of a father,
Mhm.
um, and a father who has infinite patience and infinite wisdom and, the infinite ability to take care of you. So yeah, my slash our faith between Nicole and like there's there's those moments where it feels like, God, if we're gonna have twins, we're gonna move to Michigan. Cool, done, awesome. But there's also I I've experienced God in a lot of ways where sometimes he's like, I know you trust me and I know you believe in me. So you need to make decisions because you have free will. Make
Yeah.
the decisions that you know you should make. Like it's not like I'm going to give you a sign.
Right.
It's going to be like you have to lean in and trust. You
Mm,
have to know that it'll be okay. And
man.
so, like Nicole, it's again the weird part about the grieving thing you were talking earlier is that there was a point where Wells was in the hospital that we're like we basically felt like we had to release him and let go.
Mm,
And there was a sense of relief, not in the sense of like, oh, I feel better now, but of like, I still feel all of the big emotions,
right.
but I trust that no matter what, God will take care of us.
Uh,
And so it's like I need to remember that. I need to
yeah.
revisit that quite frequently. And I think that's why this season has been a lot of conversational prayer of like, remind me again, it's
Yeah.
going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Okay. It's going to be okay.
Right. I like that. I think we, not just you, but we need to be like, we are people that need to be constantly reminded. We forget easily. I think that's why, the Bible talks about like, hey, write this down, put it on your door.
Mm,
Like, don't let people forget what God has done and how he's worked in your life and how he's provided and been faithful, and
mm,
talk about it with your kids. Like, don't
mhm,
let them forget it. Let them tell their kid, and so
mhm.
that's a that's a that's a very good thing to do, is just, I like that. Remind me. Remind me. I think we need good
Yeah.
reminders.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, what's
then are you able to go to church?
no, well, not no.
Okay,
We haven't been able to connect, and so Wells has been
gotcha.
in and out of the hospital numerous times
Yeah,
since, yeah. And so yeah, he's got a trach. He sleeps on a vent at night. He's when he gets sick, it's not like it's like, okay, are we going to the hospital and for how long? Um, and so we're super, super sensitive
for sure.
as to where we go and who we spend time with. But
Yeah,
now it's getting nicer. Summer's typically a
yeah,
healthier season.
right,
So we'll probably we've been looking into a couple different places that have one, it's an accessible church, and
right.
two, have resources for families. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love that, man. Cameron, this has been so good. I just want to keep talking to you. I mean, is that weird that I say that? Like, I just want to. I don't want this to end. But I'm really thankful for your time. I know you are a busy guy. You have a lot of things going on. I really appreciate your openness, your honesty with the questions, and just being willing to share who you are and how you do things. And you have an amazing family. They're great.
Mm,
So
pretty close.
I just
Pretty
want to
great.
say you're doing an awesome job. And I know that it's the way you dad, the way you husband is an encouragement to many people. So thanks for what you do.
Of course. And thanks for having me on. And I mean, any of those dads out there, you can keep doing it. Just one day at a time. That's another big thing we say a lot is just take it one day at a time.
One day at a time.
Just one day at a time.
It is so true.
It's so cool.
But all right, Cameron. Well, I appreciate it.